and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. We're joined today for the hour by one of Latin America's most acclaimed writers, Eduardo Galeano. The Uruguayan novelist and journalist made headlines last month when Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez gave President Barack Obama a copy of one of Galeano's books during a brief encounter at the Summit of the Americas in Trinidad and Tobago. The Open Veins of Latin America, 5 Centuries of the Pillage of a Continent, soon shot to near the top of the bestseller list. Hugo Chavez later told reporters, quote, "This book is a monument in our Latin American history. It allows us to learn history, and we have to build on this history." Since its publication in 1971, The Open Veins of Latin America has sold over 1 million copies worldwide, despite being banned in the 1970s by the military governments in Chile, Argentina, and Uruguay.
In 1973, a military junta came to power in Uruguay. Eduardo Galeano was briefly jailed, then he went into exile. He lived in Argentina and then Spain until 1984, when he returned to Uruguay. While in exile, he began writing his classic trilogy, Memory of Fire, which rewrites 5 centuries of North and South American history. The writer John Berger said of Galeano, quote, "To publish Eduardo Galeano is to publish the enemy of lies, indifference, above all of forgetfulness. Thanks to him, our crimes will be remembered. His tenderness is devastating, his truthfulness furious." Eduardo Galeano's latest book is called Mirrors, Stories of Almost Everyone. He joins us today in our Firehouse studio.
Hello, Emily.
It's good to have you with us, Eduardo.
For me.
Stories of Almost Everyone is the
Yes.
subtitle.
Yes.
Almost everyone. What do you mean?
Well, it sounded, I don't know, so solemn and serious to say a universal history or something like this. I'm not a historian. It was such a mad project. It was really a crazy adventure, trying to go beyond all the frontiers, all boundaries of maps and time. It comes from 600 short stories trying to rebuild, to rediscover the human history from the point of view of the invisibles, trying to rediscover the terrestrial rainbow, mutilated by racism and machismo and militarism and elitism and so many isms. That was the intention, at least, to speak about the nobodies from the nobodies' voices.
And why the short stories or the vignettes that you've increasingly gravitated to in recent decades? Why that form to express these huge stories?
I'm fighting against inflation. Not monetary inflation, but the inflation of words. So many words to say nothing. I'm trying to tell more with less. This is the challenge. And so each one of the stories I tell has been written and rewritten 10 times, 15 times, I don't know how many times, till I get the words that really deserve to exist, which are the words that I feel are better than silence.
One of the things we want you to do this hour is just read some of these short stories, and you can't add any extra words. But before we do, when President Chavez of Venezuela handed President Obama of the United States Open Veins of Latin America, your classic work, what were your thoughts, and how did you find out about it? You weren't at the Summit of the Americas, were you?
I didn't know it, but I went to have my usual promenade with my dog, Morgan, who's died recently. He died after that. One of our last promenades together. And I was surprised because my neighbor said, "Congratulations, Eduardo. You are selling so much. You're a bestseller, Eduardo." And I was horrified. Bestseller? I don't want to be sold. what's this? Something terrible must happen. What's this? Congratulations, congratulations. You're so successful. I don't want to be successful. What's this? Successful in the market? Yes, you're the best-selling man now in the world. They were all so proud. And it was terrible news for me. I don't want to be the first in the market. I just want to get in touch with people, writing.
Well, Chavez has become like the new Oprah now. You know, he did it for Noam Chomsky. He made Noam Chomsky a bestseller. Now he's done it for you.
No, it was a generous act, and indeed the book turned to be, after so many years, almost 40, sort of a symbol. And my style has changed a lot. Now I write in a very different way, but I'm not repentant of it. No estoy arrepentido, not at all. Not a single comma, not a single period. And I think it may be a useful book, yes, to understand how richness and poverty are intimately connected, and also freedom and slavery are intimately connected. And so there are no richness really innocent of any poverty, and there are no freedom that has nothing to do to be with slavery. This was the intention of the book, trying to interlink histories that have been before told separately and in this codified language of historians or economists or sociologists. And so I tried to write it in such a way that it could be read and enjoyed by anyone, and that's why it lost the Casa de las Americas prize, because the jury considered it was not serious. At that time, the left-wing intellectuals were sure that to be serious, you ought to be boring. And it was not boring, so it was not enough serious. Afterwards, fortunately for me, the military dictatorships considered it was quite serious, and they burnt it. And this was my best publicity, my best marketing
tool.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to break with some music of Victor Jara, back in the news now. But when we come back, I want to ask you if President Obama could read one of the stories in Open Veins of Latin America, 5 Centuries of the Pillage of a Continent, which would you like him to read? Our guest today is Eduardo Galeano for The Hour, the Uruguayan writer and journalist. He has a new book out. It's called Mirrors, Stories of Almost Everyone. Stay with us.
Para crecer, estréchala tu hermano. Juntos iremos unidos en la sangre. Hoy es el tiempo que puede ser mañana. Líbranos de aquel que nos domina en la miseria. Tráenos tu reino de justicia e igualdad. Sopla como el viento la flor de la quebrada, limpia como el fuego el cañón de mi fusil. Hágase por fin tu voluntad aquí en la tierra. Danos tu fuerza y tu valor al combatir. Sopla como